I'm going to show you a quick demo on highlights and shadows on just line work and drawings. So let's make a new layer here. If I want a little bit more shadow on these faces that are in the shade, because the light source is somewhere in this top left corner, I might make a new layer called shadows. And then we'll do the W for magic wand tool. It's also located here. We have to go onto the layer that we want to select. We're going to select the faces that we want, and then we're going to go back up to shadows layer, V for brush, but we're going to make it a fairly large brush because we want to do it really softly. I would keep the opacity and flow at 100 and make sure that this is black. And we're going to gently, maybe make it a little bit bigger, gently bring it in this area. So see now it's a lot darker in that area. And then if we're saying, oh, it's a little sharp here, you can go in with this. So we're going to hold and click, and we're going to go to blur tool. And then we're just going to blur the edges a little bit. It's a little bit softer. And I always make the opacity over here slightly less. And then let's say that there's actually not a shadow here. So it's going to take this shadow off really fast. And it's not there, but we definitely maybe want one there. So I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to call it object shadow. And then we're going to do L for lasso, magnetic lasso. We're going to go all along this edge, just because if you don't do it too far on the sides, it'll show up more with a harsh line. We're going to do B for brush. Make sure that that's black again. And kind of click in this area because you don't want to click right on it because then that's what will happen. But click on this area, see, and it's starting to fill in a little bit. Keep making this smaller. I can right click. That's how I'm bringing up the toolbar there. Just kind of bringing that in. And then see, it's kind of everywhere. We're going to do erase, E for erase. Just going to bring that back. So now we can at least have the around shadow, because that's the one thing. If there's no shadows around, we're going to want some shadow around it. We're going to gently brush to just have a surface shadow. And then, so see how these have these boxes? Maybe I'm going to make another layer that's direct shadow. We're going to make it similar to how those boxes look. So we're going to bring it out a little bit like this. And this is me just eyeballing it. Double click to finish the box. Maybe we're going to get a little bit. So you can do it multiple ways. This is just one way. You can do this little paint fill thing. We're going to do fill color. We're going to make it black because we're going to be able to change it to gray later. 100%, great. So now you have this really dark thing. Now we're going to bring it way back. Maybe make the opacity like 35 and then bring down the fill. Okay. And the edges are really dark. So you can still use that blur tool there on the left, or you can go up to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And as you can see, look, it's already starting to kind of look like this. This is a very large radius, so you might want to bring it back a little bit because the bigger the radius, the more fuzzy it's going to look. Seems good. Couple pixels, and then we're going to bring up the opacity again because it just got a little dark. Now it looks very similar to this. The object shadow portion here is making it a little bit darker, so maybe we're going to tone that back by erasing. If I do it right on top, it just make it disappear. So if I do it slightly farther back, it'll make it come back slower. See, now this, obviously it's not the right angle, but the color and how it's looking with the fuzzy edges, it looks very similar to this. This is a really great way, instead of going through Rhino Render, to be able to get shadows that are what you're wanting it to look like. Let's say that you want to make a texture darker color too. Let's get some wood. Let's copy this. Paste. We're going to put it here. We're gonna Control T, right click, distort. I'm gonna line it up with this edge. So I'm just going to distort it so it starts to look like it's on the face of this object. I'm just going to manipulate it till we can get it back to the edge of this object. It's close enough. We're going to L for lasso tool, and I'm going to make this opacity a little less just so we can see what we're doing. And we're just going to take this part off, and I'm just going to delete it for now, but you should mask it in the future. So this is the way this is looking. It's pretty flat. Let's do another layer, and we're going to actually hit Alt, and then click to link it down to this layer. And we're going to call this layer the shadow layer for layer 2. So shadows will always now be hooked to layer 2. We're going to do brush again, make sure it's on the black. I'm going to make it slightly bigger, so that was a right click. Make it slightly darker around the edges. We're going to do the same thing, make a new layer, Alt click at the joining part, highlight, B for brush, and we're going to do X. See, X will change the color. So make it slightly lighter here. And both of these should be under overlay, or soft light could work too. It just depends on how dark or light you're getting it. Let's do overlay for now and maybe make the shadows slightly lighter, the opacity specifically, and then the highlights also opacity slightly less. And then again, to make things a little more realistic, instead they obviously look really, really sharp here, I typically go through with a blur tool. You can do Gaussian, or you can do, again, the blur tool here on the left side. We're going to click layer 2, and just gently go over the edges of the texture here. I have strength at 50%. I think that works pretty well. And then maybe I'm like, okay, we need a little bit more highlight, so we're going to click the highlight button, hit B for brush. Again, just gently, don't put it right on it, because then that's what happens. You just want to gently go kind of around it, and then go back on the shadow, click X to get the black, gently go around that. It's a little darker. And honestly, usually I'm making the opacity of the texture as well slightly lighter, just because no texture is a perfectly dark texture in real life. So making this slightly lighter will also blend it slightly more into the background. So it's a little bit softer there. All right. Hope this shadows, blurring, highlight tutorial is helpful.